How long gone? It is a Super Tuesday here in sweltering New York City. Them jeans. What's going on with you?
It's not that super. It's not that sweltering. It's hot, but Carolyn just took a little schwitz in the sauna, so my office is very hot right now.
I forgot how that heats up the entire room to some extent.
It does. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I'm fine. I'm wearing a t-shirt. Could be much worse, but yeah, I'm just hanging out. I was just kind of looking over the calendar of our travels and realizing that I'm going to be gone all over the place pretty soon. I mean, this is every day for you, but for me,
What are you going to do to prepare?
not really anything, What can you do,
No, I couldn't. I completely agree. I didn't know if you had some,
there's
twisted methods.
There's you'd have to prepare for the dog sitting stuff and the home maintenance stuff and the trash cans and the gardeners and the this and the that and the watering and the all that stuff you have to prepare for. Otherwise, how do you prepare for going on an airplane other than drugs?
You're only gone for a couple weeks. You're not moving to the Sahara.
I'll more or less be gone for a month, like mid-July to mid-September.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to be in
That's true.
Chicago
Right.
3 different times, Europe 3 different times in the course of a month and a half or so.
Yeah, I can't wait to be in Chicago 3 times. Super looking forward to that. Love you guys.
Feel like
Love you,
Scottie
Chicago.
Pippen, all the Chicago three-peats I got.
Yes, love you, Chicago. I'll see you at Gibson's for some fries. See you guys over there.
Yeah, we'll be at the Wiener Circle. We've got a T-shirt with our friends Cowgirl coming out soon. Let's see here. What else is going on? We were talking about, is matcha Hennessy for white people? Have we reached peak matcha? Are we done with matcha? Just when you thought you couldn't get any more, right?
I've been done with matcha since before it arrived on.
I'm not talking about you,
the white
Chris.
tongue. The white tongue that has ruined it.
You were when it was Japanese only. When it was only really featured in the villages of Osaka, that's when you were loving it. And now that it's sort of hit Los Feliz and then spread throughout Western America,
once you
boycott began.
Once you whites started mixing in oat milk, I knew my days were numbered in the matcha space. Ceremonial or not.
You whites, Chris?
Once you pollute it with Oatly, it becomes a different monster. There was a video of a guy. There's a video of a guy cooking a steak with matcha butter, correct? That's a word. That's a word. Which sounds really cool when we say it out loud. So there's a video of this guy cooking a steak. What do you call that method when you're sort of like, you're like not flipping the pan, but you're keeping it moving with your
I guess
hand.
If he was probably matcha butter basting a steak. You've got your Whole Foods ribeye in there. You sear it on both sides. Lower the heat. Drop in a couple cloves of garlic, a sprig of rosemary, and then you mix your ceremonial grade matcha powder with some Kerrygold unsalted, and then you really smack that onto a searing hot cast iron, which should really treat those delicate green tea flavors terribly.
With the utmost respect.
Carbonizing them instantly and turning them from a already bitter and acrid dirt-like flavor into some, propelling it into a new stratosphere of disgust.
I have a question for you. What's it called when they use the spoon to kind of keep rapid firing the butter onto the steak?
I think that's just basting, I guess. I don't know if there could be like a French technique for when you have something in the pan and then you tilt it and then you get that spoon. I think it's more of just like, it's one of those, it's like a chefy jagoff thing, like look how fast I can cut the chives kind of thing. I think nobody is going to be able to tell the difference, like, oh, this was not basted quickly, so it's clearly an amateur steak, It's getting plenty of butter.
This tastes funny to me. I don't think it was basted correctly, if I'm not mistaken.
Was the baster slow? Yeah,
I think
it shows.
Matcha might be white people Hennessy, and I had never thought of that before. But I think it's a good comp.
And in typical white person fashion, I stole that from Black Twitter.
Oh, I know. I know, because I feel like I sent you that link, and then you sent me that post back, like as a one-up, like, oh, you thought that was just funny? Let me show you something that's even better from the same source material.
I like to, people send me funny images and memes and things like that on the internet. I'm sure only a fraction of how often you get them, but I like to respond with a meme that has dissected the image that they sent me already, and then, you know, to complete the end of the cycle, to square the circle, without ever having to say the ha ha ha, I saw that on Tuesday. Very funny. Yes. You know, because nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be on either end of that whole scenario. So you have to hit them with a little bit of a limp dick hee hee or a crying and laughing emoji.
Let me suggest something to you is the not responding. I think that's a good, just to let people know without saying I've seen it or without feigning laughter. You could, I think if you view a meme and don't respond, that's an automatic, to me, that is a clear sign that you've already seen it and you don't feel the need to comment on it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about if a stranger. What about when you send me the meme and I've already seen it? Just nothing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I feel like we have some. I feel like we have less meme crossover than one would expect, maybe. So I feel like we were able to share with each other more than I would assume, based on our interests.
There's enough difference so
to go
we
around.
have an open market trade going on.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, an open market.
Beneficial enough for both parties of this transaction.
An open market trade going on. Yeah, exactly.
I was looking at our dear friends GQ. They posted something on Instagram, an article they have written. The cure to male loneliness is befriending your wife's friends' husbands. How to embrace the homies-in-law. And then there's two fist bumping, and they're wearing like raver bead bracelets that say "We heart emoji our wives."
That's kind of sick. I did see this. I think that this male loneliness epidemic that we keep hearing about is just not something that we or people that we socialize with encounter. I think this is about a totally different kind of person, and I think if you look at it that way, this is pretty sound advice, because where else are you going to meet people unless you go to church or start talking to strangers?
Yeah, I guess so.
You know,
I don't know. I don't even have anything to say. It's just it just makes me sad for the future of men when I see stuff like this, right?
Oh, I don't give a shit about no, all this fucking men this, men that. Like, shut up, dude. Who cares? Like, who cares if men are lonely? Who cares if men don't have friends? That, you know what you need to do? You need to man up and make some fucking friends and stop being lonely. That's what I don't understand. Like, it's a choice you make is what I'm saying, to some extent. Like, obviously, cultivating friendships and not being lonely requires some effort. Yeah. And if you're not willing to do that, then you can't whine about it. It's mind blowing to me.
It's simply user error and user laziness, because if you want, to me, a friend is somebody who you actually want to hang out with, not somebody that you have settled on hanging out with. I would much rather be alone than hang out with people that I've settled on hanging with. And you know, many times people will fall into the traps of I only hang out with my 2-year-old's parents now because we have the same
schedule,
you know, diaper schedule or whatever it is, and that's who I'm friends with now. And or, you know, I just want to know how you get to the point where you meet a woman and get married and blah blah blah, and you don't have any friends.
You don't have any friends.
How did you get that far? Like, getting friends is so much easier than getting married.
Yeah, bro, it's cool. What my wife liked about me was that I just had absolutely no friends. So I just kind of had to kick it with her most of the time. Yeah, no, it's a twisted little conundrum, but I just don't think it's like, I think it's, you know what I'll say? I think it's talked about more in the media than it actually takes place in real life, at least from my view. I think it's a fun thing to talk about because it's you know, relatively interesting and people like it, but I don't think I haven't seen this happening, or maybe my friends aren't leveling with me about their loneliness.
Well, I think this is a great subject that we can chat with our guest about, Chris.
We can chat with our guest. Baiju Bhatt is the CEO, or no, I guess he founded Aetherflux is what we're saying, correct? Aetherflux is a space-based solar energy company, but he's also the co-founder and coach Robinhood, which I'm sure some of you have made and lost money on over the years. But this is also our first I think, capital B billionaire guest on How Long Gone, which is exciting.
I think so. I think some of our rapper guests have proclaimed to be billionaires, but I think this is the only one that Forbes
I don't think,
has officially distinguished.
I think this is a real one.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But I'm happy to be dipping our toe into a new pool. I feel like we don't talk to people like this very often, so it's going to be exciting for us as well, and disappointing for him.
Yeah, that's right. And it'll be lose-lose all around. I'm excited to talk to Baiju. Let's give him a jingle, okay?
I'm ready to go. I'm in my little shoebox right now too.
I was going to ask, are you in a corporate phone booth?
I am
Okay.
in the least corporate of offices.
Okay, so no matter what the office is these days, corporate or not, they're going to have the phone jail.
I gotta tell you, like, I was kind of dreading getting into this thing because, like, you assume people are in here the whole time. And I tell you guys, I thought it was gonna smell like farts, and I was really surprised. It actually smells totally fine.
That's really I use these occasionally, and I also had to record this podcast once in the Delta Lounge in one of these booths. And I will say the air after an hour of talking does start to get a little static. I would say is a nice way to put it. There's
static is a very sweet way to put it.
There's not a lot of ventilation, I guess is what I'm saying. There's not a lot of ventilation in the booths.
I mean, I kind of want this booth to smell like hard work.
Sure. Yes.
Wow. I mean, 30 seconds in, and the billionaire mindset reference has already dropped.
Hell yeah. I need every surface in this office to smell like fucking work is being
You know
done.
what I might start doing, guys? I might just in between meetings, if there's nobody in one of these, just pop the door open, see if it smells like hard work. If not, just like rip ass and close the door.
Yeah.
Give a gift to the next employee.
That's
feels like a fair punishment.
Yeah, it's a fair punishment for not working hard.
You know, we have a lot of listeners who are into scent, perfumes, fragrances, and all that stuff. If you were to maybe attach some tasting notes to what hard work smells like, what do you think that would be?
It really depends on what's for lunch.
Okay, sure.
Like first, it depends on the race of the worker. First of all,
because I would say hard work would be, at least for me, it would be some kind of masculine, some woodsy ouds, some kind of, you know what I mean, like a incensey kind of vibe.
Some of our CEO listeners are not going to like that answer, Chris.
I know.
But a little bit of cheese too. I mean,
a little bit of cheese.
Okay.
Like a little bit of like French cheese too.
Okay.
So rich mahogany woods, light French cheeses.
Maybe a little bit of coffee, I think, would help. Like a little bit of a kind of a roasting waft, top note, I think could be nice.
Black cold brew.
Yeah, black cold brew.
Ideally, the sort of smell you get when you mix milk in with coffee, you drink it all, don't drink anything else, and just like breathe out the smell.
Yeah, that's something I'm sure you've encountered a lot in your life.
Many times.
You're the victim and the
and the proprietor
and the distributor.
When you're mixing that milk into the cold brew, what is our milk of choice?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm highly lactose intolerant.
Okay.
And so it's usually dairy-free milk.
Okay.
I would go a step further. I would say I'm more than lactose intolerant. I have disdain for lactose.
Oh.
Like a deep-seated disdain. And as do many of my close friends because they know what happens when I drink lactose.
Do you think
Are we live right now? Because
we're live.
Okay,
we're
good.
live.
No, we're live.
Do you think that so you're saying you had this lactose issue since you can remember?
Oh, I've lost a college roommate to it once.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
There's bodies to be accounted for.
Well, I mean, the guy, he's still alive, I'm pretty sure. I don't think the smells were that bad. But I had this period in college where I got really into weightlifting. Like, I called it the muscular mystery tour.
Okay. So you were getting buff at Stanford where no one is buff.
Well, there's some buff people. There's athletes there. There's gym rats.
There are athletes. There are athletes there, but I think Stanford is it doesn't feel to be known as it's not Notre Dame.
More mathlete than athlete.
It's not
absolutely.
Notre Dame.
You're not expecting to walk down the sort of palm tree driven drive and just seeing just like ripped people. You expect people with math books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what I expect to see too now as an employer that's hiring people out of Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
You want the book. Yeah, leave the bodybuilding shit at home. We need the books.
No, we want the mathletes. Wait, where was I going with this?
So you were talking about when you were pumping iron. Was this going to go into a whey protein situation?
It was. Yeah, I found out that halfway through that school year that I was actually quite lactose intolerant. And at that point, I think my roommate, who we had bunk beds at the time, poor guy, he was like, I'm out. I can't.
I worked too hard for this bullshit.
He's like, you're not telling me anything I don't know, Chief. I had a feeling there were some issues. What was your weightlifting? Were you just trying to look good, or were you trying to compete? Like, what was your weightlifting vibe?
Walk us through your fitness goals, Baiju. Please.
Yeah, please.
I would be happy to, actually. You know, I was big boy when I was a kid.
Welcome to the club. Welcome home, brother.
Yeah. So, you guys have heard of the fit to fat to fit?
I haven't heard of that, actually.
Yeah, there's a mild variation on this that I like a little bit more, which is fit to fat to fat.
Okay, sure. So, what stage are you in
so
now?
from 0 to 2, you were looking good, is what you're saying, and then it kind of went all downhill.
Yeah. Well, so a little backstory on me. So I'm like, my parents immigrated to the U.S., right?
Okay.
India. And I come from a long line of vegetarians.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? My parents are tiny. My parents are like barely 5 feet tall each. And I'm closer to 6 feet than I am to 5 feet. Like
That's a cool way to put it.
Good way to put it on your Hinge profile.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
Yeah.
Closer to 6 and 5. We're not going to get into the details.
I don't want to split hairs.
I've never been one to be like, I'm 6 feet tall. I always put a little caveat. I'm like, it's a little less than 6.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, I think I was actually a little bit more. So when I was a kid, I grew up eating American food. And let's be clear, I ate a lot of Taco Bell as a kid. I used to love Taco Bell as a kid. And I both grew in sort of height and width proportionately.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for using your master's degree in mathematics to dictate your sphere-like shape here.
I'm like a foot taller than my parents, right? And I could show you guys we're on video. I'll show you guys a picture of this because it's hard to explain. But when I was in high school, towards the middle of high school, I lost like a little less than 70 pounds.
Wow.
So I was like 210, 215, and I got down to like 140.
What was your method in high school for this? Just less Taco Bell?
A lot less Taco Bell, and I got some people that kind of made fun of me for being a big boy. And to quote Michael Jordan, I took it personally.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way. I think that being made fun of for being a husky teen gave me the personality that I've used to, I'm not going to say get ahead, but get somewhere. And I think that that's an important, it's an important thing to go through.
Yeah, I would say the place that it got me was beautiful, actually.
Oh, you feel, okay, yeah, you do have a nice head of hair on you.
Oh, thank
so
you.
I wasn't going to, I didn't want to.
So I had this transformation that happens in high school. This is like 10th grade. So I get made fun of at this debate tournament for being kind of a big boy. I took it very personally, and I went on to lose a ton of weight. At the same time, I grew this hair out, which was kind of a nice touch. So I came.
So you were a whole new man. You were a whole new man.
Totally different vibe.
Did the ladies of this high school take notice of this, or was it still?
It's one of those things where it took a couple of years to, I think, for people to really take notice. If other people were taking notice in high school, I certainly was. I didn't notice.
You didn't notice.
So it was more of a less of a head turning, bow chicka wow who's at it, more of a like, keep at it, looking pretty good, not bad.
Actually, you know what I just realized? I don't know why I'm wearing these headphones. I'm not even using these things.
Well, they're. I mean, not to be a stickler, but when you're wearing the headphones, our voices are only going to come into your ears and not onto the microphone. So. Well, when you're using no headphones, our voices could be recorded by your microphone, which would then hinder your audio quality.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but it sounds okay. And if you don't want to wear them, it's fine.
You want me to wear them? I'm happy to. I actually thought I was. I guess I wasn't. That sounds way better.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
The noise canceling on headphones, man, that's pretty. If you just leave that on for a while, it kind of gives you a headache.
It's disorienting. It's
a bit much.
I only do it on the plane because it's so disorienting. Like I think walking around New York with like AirPod Max on is dangerous.
Yeah, it's very disorienting. It gives me a headache pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're not meant for that.
No.
Let's talk about you being fat again though. Just quickly if you want to finish. If you want to finish.
Just another 30 on your weight if you could.
Yeah.
Okay, so you put down the Crunchwrap Supremes. You say, Derry, thank you so much for the inches that you've given me in height. No, thank you for the inches you've given me on the waistline. We're going to maybe move on to a taco salad, hold the cheese, hold the sour cream.
Yeah, well, it was more of a bean and cheese burrito situation beforehand. This sort of like there's like there's a few threads that are kind of constants in my life. One is probably the pursuit of physics and math. The other one is the pursuit of like farts and poop jokes.
Okay. So you do work in fintech. Got it.
Oh yeah. Wait, is that like a hallmark of working in fintech, is making fart jokes?
I mean, I wouldn't say a direct through line, but I think there's enough of a connection to, the poop humor with the billionaire mindset,
Yeah, these things go hand in glove.
A classic marriage.
Hand in glove.
Marriage.
Yeah. Without one, you don't have the other.
No, no. Yeah. So I lose all this weight in high school. I dropped a ton of weight, and I did it mostly through running, actually.
Mm-hmm.
In all seriousness, like going through that kind of transition and transformation, right? It gives you a level of like mental focus. This is like in the entrepreneurial business context, right? Like if you're successful, you want to do things that are impactful. You want to like have control over big things that are happening in the external world. But there's this kind of like, if you can't control your own body, like what that control or sort of ideas that you're exerting on the rest of the world, they just feel very thin and not substantive, right? Like you kind of have to prove to yourself that you can conquer your own physical body. Because otherwise, the rest of the stuff sort of feels like veneer on top.
So, long story short, if you're fat, your ideas feel thin. Ironically,
yeah, they do.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I mean,
it does make
it's like a lizard brain correlation to your constitution.
Because if you're like crushing it at whatever you're doing professionally, and you're like, I can't control how I eat right now, right? Or I'm just like, and I don't feel good about it. Like it's really difficult keeping those two incongruent things kind of straight in your head. And that's not to say I haven't reverted to being kind of a fatty Magoo from time to time in the years that have followed. But still, it's kind of like it's given me like losing all that weight as a kid. It's kind of given me like the toolkit of like going back to fitness when you're kind of stressed out or stuff like that. And also knowing that if you put your mind to something, you can do it, right? And like big or small, in this case, thick boy big
too small is what we're going
big
to.
Too small.
Big too small.
And also you were able to do the, to bring back the mental fortitude. If you were doing this in high school, this is pre AirPod Max and podcasts and headphones and listening to music. When you were running back then, I'm assuming you were running just straight you and the brain, right?
Oh yeah, I had an iPod at some point. I might have tried to play around.
It was right on the cusp of, you could have had a Discman, but that gets tricky.
Yeah,
with the skippage,
at this point, you're like whistling tunes to yourself to keep yourself engaged.
Yeah, you're whistling "Big Pimpin'" by Jay-Z and featuring Pharrell as you do your 3.5 mile run.
No, but this is what I was just with these professional runners, and they were like, "Oh, we don't listen to music." Like 100 miles, no music. 250 miles, no music. And
were they lying?
No. This is like at the top of the game, it's considered sort of passé to listen to music, like a crutch.
I think it was one part you're being a bitch if you listen to music, it's cheating, and then two parts like we're doing these outdoor runs and we need to be able to hear when there's a rattlesnake, when there's a bear, when when your life is maybe in danger,
Yeah, that seems responsible. Although you could also accomplish that by carrying a little bear bell.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, I think on my
simple bear bell.
I think pulling the bear bell out of the Satisfy vest at mile 112 might be a little kind of It might not work super well. But running is the most we talk about it a lot, but it's the most democratic form of exercise, and I think it does. Like it really is, no pun intended, one foot in front of the other, and then you see some results pretty quickly.
You do, yeah, you do, and it also clears your head out.
Totally.
Like if you're stuck on stuff, like I kind of, and this coming back full circle back to the mathlete, because I at various points in time in my life would have considered myself a mathlete.
That's very brave of you to say. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah. It's taken me many years to get to this point where I can say that.
Yeah.
It doesn't get easier, brother.
No. But the two things that I kind of found are pretty effective if you're like trying to get some creative ideas to fit together. Number one is if you kind of get tired of whatever you're working on, usually taking a short nap is pretty effective.
Hell yeah. How short are we talking? Like micro?
I mean like 20 minutes, like
Okay.
not like a
If you're gonna kick back on the couch in the office, do you set an alarm for the 20 minutes, or are you vibrating on a plane where you automatically wake up?
I think I will set the alarm, but the vibrational modes are pretty strong. Like I usually get up right on the 20-minute mark.
You know.
God tells you when it's time to wake up.
Oh, absolutely. Or the next meeting. One or the other.
Sure. But if you so you're saying if you're stuck on something, you kind of kick your feet up, you lay down for 20 minutes, you wake up, and you just feel refreshed, basically. So your brain is kind of restarted, let's say.
Totally. It's either that, or if you're feeling kind of groggy in the middle of the day, and you're reaching for like a third or fourth cup of coffee, at least I found it pretty effective to just like go and try to get some exercise.
You know what's funny about this is that today, because of my schedule, I had to do a midday pump, which I never do. So I had to go to the Equinox. I had to go to the Equinox here in the J. Crew office building in New York City, and I have to say, it worked. I completely agree with you. Like I feel I like don't like doing it because I had to take a shower at the gym, which is a whole issue I hate doing. But I did come out feeling
He's a never nude.
Baiju. I came out feeling more mentally clear and like refreshed, and I thought I was just going to feel tired. It really did work.
Wait, you're a never nude?
No, that's a joke.
Were you wearing denim underwear in the shower at the Equinox?
I just don't. Because of the way I've set my life up, I don't have to take showers at a gym. I get to go home. It's a point of privilege, and when I have to take
personal point of privilege.
So when I have to take all my shit and I just don't like to do it. When I have to take all my apothecary, I have all my skincare routine, my fragrances. I just don't like having all this shit in my bag. Now I got a bag full of wet clothes. It's just not.
All of your serums clanging around
because you got a good pump on. Your clothes are wet because you got sweaty.
That's right, and that's how I look at it. And I will do whatever I can to fit it in, obviously. But I do think that the idea of being like, I mean, this sounds almost like the advice to like go on a walk. It's just moving the body is sort of what gets the brain going. Because where do you think all of your best ideas have come to you? Are there places that get it flowing better?
So I like Robinhood office was pretty close to Stanford campus.
Yeah.
Aetherflux office where I'm at right now, a little bit further, but still relatively close. There's a loop around Stanford campus that I really like to run. It's called Campus Loop. So that's probably where I've gotten a lot of my
that's
good
cool
thinking in.
That's cool how creative they got with the name of that trail. I like that. Campus Loop.
Yeah, the loop was on the campus. But now that you are who you are currently, when you go do the campus loop at Stanford, are people jogging alongside you pitching ideas? Are you able? Do you have to wear a disguise?
That would be nice, right? I kind of in my mind's eye, that's the life that I'm living. Is I'm out for a run and people are like, "Oh my God, is that Baiju?" Like I've got an idea,
sir. Just a moment of your time.
I mean, these precocious college students in 2025, I think they're different, but it's nice that you can return to the campus and kind of. Maybe it takes you back somewhere mentally.
It does, but I want to take this back to a place where I had a little comment to add, right? So you're like, there's the privilege of being able to take a shower in the middle of the day at the Equinox, which by the way, going to work out at the Equinox in New York is kind of like, it's like walking into an oasis, right? It's like, it's intense. Like Equinox is like, you can take a shower. It's like nice and clean. The towels all smell really good, but if you really, and this is my advice, having lived a short but somewhat successful professional career, if you really want to power move the situation, really want to power move the situation, don't take a shower.
Hell yeah, I knew where you were going with this,
right?
So if I come back, I'm in my full Nike kit, I'm just dripping with sweat. I'm like, all right, what's next? Then they're scared.
No. You walk in and you see somebody, you're like, "Oh my God, it's been forever since I've seen you," and go give them a big
hug.
Wet
Let
hug.
them know who's boss. That is kind of big dick in them. I see what you're doing.
That is a real
power.
I
like that.
And you don't walk in and say, "What did I miss?" You say, "What did you miss?" And then that puts them on their heels, right?
I know.
That puts them on their heels.
And you're like, oh yeah, no, I just got done with a heavy duty workout. Have you been
Yeah,
exercising today yet? Oh,
what
yeah,
you?
maybe
Oh,
you
let
should.
me. Oh, wow, pizza for lunch. Okay, well, I guess whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do.
Speaking of fitness, a couple things. I know that you enjoy a little bit of a fast, and I know you enjoy a deep squat. I want to talk about both of those. Which one you can choose which one first.
Yeah, I've done some fasting over the years. I got pretty into it a couple of years ago, as well with meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, meditating just made me way more anxious and on edge.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You just made a lot of people very happy hearing that information. They're like, yeah, hell yeah, never gonna do it again.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it was, or how was your relationship to your phone? Was it like anxiety of missing something, or was it just like the brain couldn't quiet?
Yeah, I think it's probably brain couldn't quiet.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if you're, this is like if you're doing like a technology job, right? You're just kind of like constantly plugged into one technical device or the other, even if it's not your phone, right? You're just kind of like constantly getting this like stream of updates. And usually if you're the founder or co-founder of a company, right, you're not getting a lot of like, everything's been taken care of, right? You're like,
sure.
Here's this shit that I couldn't figure out.
Another great day, boss. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Here's this thing I couldn't figure out, or here's this problem that like is too big for me to be able to handle. Can you fix this shit for me? And so you're not opening your phone or your laptop and like expecting to get like, like happy news. You're like, what's the new turd that's in my punch bowl right now?
Yeah, so it's like I see what you're saying. So it becomes, I mean, that feels like something, no matter how used to it you get, that still can induce some anxiety.
Yeah.
But I also feel like we all, and you're a very intelligent person, I feel like you are creating ways to micro meditate on your own that aren't just the standard, I'm going to sit crisscross applesauce and listen to, ambient frequencies for 20 minutes and I'm all cured. I feel like you're doing your own meditation in many ways throughout the day.
Oh, I mean, exercising is a big one. Also, would you guys believe me if I told you I did some micro meditations even in the middle of this podcast?
Oh, shit. You just Chris Angel mind freaked us right now.
Did you guys even notice that I was doing that?
I didn't notice. When you closed your eyes, I was worried, but I thought maybe you just were
did
blinking.
nod off for a couple minutes there at the beginning. So that now that you call it out,
micro meditations are good. That's really good.
Okay,
So
when's the last time you had like an out of body experience? In terms of, it could be meditation or it could be, ayahuasca related, whatever it may be.
If you want to have an out of body experience, get to the point that you're sweating to the point that you like can't see straight. So I went for, actually, this is a good one. I went for a run last week. I was actually doing a podcast in New York when it was like 102 degrees outside.
yeah, dangerously hot.
Oh my God, that was a bit of an out of body experience because after this, it's what's the name of this podcast? It's called the Post Run High. Yeah. My God. I was like, apparently like after we like ran across the Brooklyn Bridge, I think it was, and it was like 102-degree heat. We get to the other side and I'm just like, this comes back to squatting. I was like, I got to get a little squat in. I just got to like lower the body temperature. It's too high.
Yeah.
Apparently some people were like, is that guy in the corner a bum?
Is he good?
Because he's like, he's like totally out of sorts and squatting and sitting on the ground.
Hold on. Just to clarify, this podcast is called Post Run Clarity, and you run with the host and then record it when you finish?
It's called Post Run High. Yeah.
Post Run High. Okay.
Yeah. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah. There's a little segment that you tape when you do the run, and then afterwards you do a podcast. And I was like, man, That was a bad idea. That was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that's
sure.
the kind of thing where my mom is going to be pissed at me whenever she realizes that I did that.
Yeah, like this is sweetheart.
You're
This is
wasting your
this is
time, young
dangerous. Like, why? Are
man,
you...
doing these weird running pods.
Jason thought you had to do ketamine to have an out of body experience, but I'm glad that you're here to tell him that all you have to do is push yourself physically, and you can kind of float above.
Oh yeah, I mean you can go full out of body experience and just straight up pass out, which I got pretty close to.
Yeah, I mean that is I know the feeling that you speak of, and even though I guess though it feels good when it's over, like most things, you know.
It did and it didn't, because afterwards I was like, I have to now like sound somewhat coherent as I'm talking to this person.
That's true. Well, this is a special case. This is special.
Yeah.
When you're running, do we pull the hair back? Do we wear a headband? What's kind of the move?
No, dude, feeling the wind flowing through your hair is like one of the greatest feelings. You feel majestic.
Okay.
You feel like a horse or something like that.
Hell yeah. No, I feel it. So do you drive a convertible?
Nah, too much hair for that. I do love cars though.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't drive I understand, because when you drive a convertible, you have to kind of keep a hat on the passenger seat. You know,
Yeah.
It is a little frustrating. It is a little frustrating.
No, this is just far too much hair for a convertible.
Yeah. It looks good though.
I'm glad that's keeping you away from the midlife crisis 9/11.
The Nutrafol's paying off.
I mean, it's not keeping me away from 9/11s. Let's be clear about that.
Okay, so you have the hard top. You don't need a convertible. Is what you're
No,
saying.
I'm actually believe it or not, there's a 9/11 like literally parked right next to me. Like you guys can see it.
Oh, like,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For our listeners at home, he panned his laptop to reveal a Tiffany blue 911. What year is that?
92, I believe.
what do you call that? That looks. I would call that thing mint chip if I was feeling crazy.
Yeah, it's a mint green.
Did you buy it like that, or did you have it made to look like that?
I scoured the world for this car.
Okay, how far where was it shipped from?
It was from Germany.
Okay, you went to the motherland. You went to the home.
Good, from the
home.
source.
I did.
No,
As somebody else did actually, and shipped it here to me. But yes,
you know, a friend of ours just built a new Porsche and had it delivered, and he showed us on the app how like it tracks where the car is, like when it's on a boat in the middle of the ocean coming from Germany to America. It was very cool.
I mean, when I buy socks on Amazon, it gives me that. So they better when I fucking buy a $400,000 911.
are you guys into cars?
That's a good point.
Are you guys car enthusiasts?
I wouldn't say enthusiast. I like nice stuff kind of across the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can appreciate all of it.
Neither of us are real grease monkeys. I'm more of a car guy than Chris is, but we don't really collect or anything like that.
We don't collect also because it's a financial issue. You know, one day we could get there, and it's possible to have more than one car. You know, we're looking forward to that day.
It's a great day. It's a great day. I got into car collecting and cars in general. I grew up around them. I grew up in the South.
Wait, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Poquoson, Virginia.
Whoa, okay. I'm from Atlanta. I didn't know.
That's an island, right? Or is that an island kind of?
No, but it sounds like it could be an island.
Okay.
It's more of a swamp than an island.
He's like, yeah. I was an Indian guy in Virginia. It felt like a fucking island. I'll tell you.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
There's a big
was-
population over there.
Not so much the part I was from.
Okay. there's many different Virginias, we will say.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was like, I definitely looked really, really fucking different than everybody else. And you know what? I was kind of cool with it. I was like, grew my hair out, and I was like, fuck it. If I'm gonna be different, I'm gonna own it.
Capital D
own it.
different.
But you're saying that cars were around.
Cars were kind of a constant, and there was just a lot of car culture. I remember a lot more truck culture, but I
Yeah.
remember I used to take classes at this. This is going back to my mathlete stuff here. So I used to take classes at this like governor's school for like a magnet school, like a governor's school for science and technology.
Yeah.
And in my spare time, I actually did research at a particle accelerator called Jefferson Lab.
Just a little something on the weekends.
Deep nerd stuff.
Did you get paid for this, or was this just to expand your mind?
Might have gotten paid a little bit along the way, but it was mostly mind expansion. And also,
Okay.
yeah, and also getting into college resume expansion.
Okay, sure. But you knew from like an early. It sounds like you knew what you wanted to do pretty early on.
I did, yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where, well, and growing up, family moved here from India. My dad had wanted to pursue a degree in physics. My dad was kind kind of old when he came to the US too. He was in his like late 30s. I want to say 36 or 37.
Oh yeah, that is pretty old. Yeah.
And he had like a whole professional career before this in India. Like he had started a PhD in chemistry, I want to say, and then my grandfather in India was a Western trained eye doctor, and so they were like the optometrists in our little town in India. And my dad did the contact lens business for them.
This sounds.
Um,
I love that. But I mean, basically, he had to start over when he came to Virginia.
totally. So he had been applying to PhD programs in the US year in, year out,
Mm-hmm.
and had kind of like devoted himself to this. He like wanted to study theoretical physics. That was his goal in life. And he was like, I'm not going to get married. I don't want to have kids. I want to purely devote my life to science. And he told me he changed his name. His name is Pruffle. He changed it to Pruffle
Mm.
Kumar, which apparently indicates that you're a bachelor. So he really wanted to just like get it out
I
there.
want to be very clear.
Let's be perfectly clear.
I'm legally single. I just want
I'm
you
only thinking about numbers, you guys, not boobies at
physics only. Yeah, no, nothing else. This is just.
And
it.
I don't know exactly what the story is. Maybe he just like at some point was like, fuck it, threw in the towel, I'm gonna get married and have a kid. Because he did, and then immediately got into to study physics in the United States. So that's kind of how I showed up
all.
Well, you come by it honestly then.
in that I was born in the US.
No, no, as in like, what you've
Is this
chosen
an immigration joke?
No, absolutely. I would never make an immigration joke. Trust
Out of
me.
the question.
He's calling you an astrophysical nepo baby.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah. I think that's right.
It's in the water. It's in the DNA. You were born to engineer.
Yeah, like if I became
explore space.
if I became an accountant like my father, I would say the same thing. But I kind of lost the plot several times and ended up here. But I think it's interesting when people sort of like really soak it up at a young age.
Dude, I think the ship has not sailed for you to become an accountant.
Okay.
I think you would really enjoy
I like
it.
where your head's at on this because I love the stability of accounting, and there is a family business that could take over, Gary L. Black and Associates.
Oh,
I just don't know if I'm going to be honest with you. I had to take algebra twice in ninth grade, and that's I dropped out of high school, so I think I would have to go and kind of do some further education if I wanted to get my certifications.
yeah. I think also if you're doing a client-facing accounting business, they probably don't want you cracking too many jokes.
No, they don't love Joe. My dad's a hilarious guy, but he kind of saves it for home.
Keep it business
Saves it for
only.
home.
Yeah, accountants aren't funny. That's not really. But I mean, I got to say, there's probably not a lot of humor in your field either.
I would say there's some pretty funny people in my field. In my field being science or physics. and
Really?
aerospace engineering.
Neil deGrasse, Elon, nothing but killers.
When I think of
Elon's pretty funny.
Elon is funny.
Elon's got a great sense of humor.
Whether he knows it or not, he's very funny.
Whether he knows it or not.
Whether he knows it or not. Now, I'm a little. You didn't go to the Bezos wedding, did you?
No, but I guess I'm not famous enough to go to that.
I thought. Well, I don't think it did feel like maybe not real friends. It felt more like how much time have you spent with Sydney Sweeney? You know what I'm saying over the years. I don't think
Plastic
it's
surgeons, different people on staff.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I mean, I guess on that subject, you weren't invited, which is okay, but maybe to tie in an energy-related situation. There's a lot of people complaining about all these celebs flying in, each on their own private jet from all over the world to Venice, Italy, to take over and rent every boat. Just so much energy being used for this dumb event. What if this was all just powered by some free solar, right? Then everyone would be okay with,
You're right.
Taylor Swift on her, 14-minute private jet rides every other hour.
Yeah,
Billionaires
she's
need
really
this.
earned a reputation for taking exceptionally short private flights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she
And,
really.
and hundreds others are doing the same exact thing. Many of our world's biggest DJs are using up almost the same amount of energy.
So I gotta say, I think people are gonna be people. I think you can't stop people from using energy. I think you got to just make more of it. And I was actually in Geneva kind of recently, only to realize that I don't know if this is like only for residential homes or what, but you're not allowed to have air conditioning in your homes in Geneva,
Damn, I'm out.
which to me seems like the most counterintuitive thing you could possibly do. Because if you're trying to save energy, and I'm not a Swiss person, so I don't know what the fuck the politics there are. But if this is an energy thing, I make the argument this makes no sense. Because if you're trying to stay cool in the summertime, you're probably running your air conditioning, right? And if you want to offset that energy use, maybe you don't want to use the energy because, that energy could be better used in some other way. You need to conserve the energy. The problem is that if you're trying to run an air conditioner, you're probably trying to run it in the middle of the day, and you're probably trying to run it when it's hot. Now, if it's the middle of the day and it's hot outside, it's probably because the sun is out,
I see
right?
where your head's at.
I'm
I
with
see where
you.
your head's
I'm with
at.
you so
You
far.
don't have to conserve energy in this. Like, you can run air conditioners with solar power, and it's like, what the actual fuck are you doing? Like, you're just miserable.
It's basically it's a plant that waters itself.
We need people around the world to be solving the energy problems, not trying to take us back to, like 500 years ago when we didn't use energy. And if we want these people to be solving our energy problems, they're not going to be thinking straight if it's like 110 degrees in their apartment.
That's true. That
Great
that will
point.
that will scramble the brain. So what you're saying is basically like there are ways to do this, like acting like it's the 1800s is not the way. That
I
is
don't
not
think
the,
so.
that is not the way. That is not the way forward. I would agree with you. I think you can't, as we say a lot on the show, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like people are used to a certain level of thing, and you can't take that away from them because you say it's bad. They don't care.
Humans are good at innovating too, man. Like we're good at solving problems. We just have to I think when problems get big enough to solve, this is one of my general views on humanity, right? Is that humans are really good at solving problems. And the right thing to do is to usually equip people with the ability to solve the problems if they're important, not to prevent people from using energy or stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
humans need energy to pursue, economic self-betterment. They need energy to pursue modern lives. We as a society have to embrace the fact that people use energy. We just got to make more of it.
Yeah. No, I
In
mean,
my
I think
opinion.
that's a pretty simple thing to understand.
Your goal, put a giant satellite up in space. It absorbs a lot of energy from the sun, which is constantly creating energy, and then beaming that back to precise locations on Earth to give you this free, never-ending abundance of energy. At that point, I mean, which is a beautiful thing, and I hope you succeed, and I look forward to that day. Is there ever going to be a situation where this is so prevalent, there's so much energy that the entire world can just access free energy all the time? And if so, will big energy unalive you or the people that are doing this because it's going to really cut into their business? You know what I mean?
Are you scared of big energy?
I've disrupted a well-established industry before. I'm pretty well aware
That's
of
a
what
good
happens
point.
in that situation.
You're like, look, losers, this ain't my first
It's
time.
not my first rodeo. In
You're
all
a goddamn
seriousness,
disruptor.
like going after and challenging established industries is something I personally really enjoy, right? I think there's a category of entrepreneur that wants to make their own use case for like whatever thing they're inventing. I kind of like to work in established industries. And well, a couple of things, right? One is our approach. This is a company I'm working on now called Aetherflux.
Yeah.
Is actually not to build one big, beautiful satellite, but to actually build a constellation of smaller satellites. Because actually, the big, beautiful satellite, I think, the fact that that was what people thought space solar power was going to be a while ago is one of the things that has kept it from being real. And there's a bunch of physics and math that goes into why that's the case, which I'm happy to bore you guys on the details, but probably not.
We're good.
Our approach is actually like you make a bunch of smaller ones,
Yeah.
and the benefits of it are pretty obvious actually, because like if you're iterating on a new technology, you don't want each one to cost like, $250 million. If you can iterate on something that costs a few $1,000,000, you're going to be able to do more of them, right? And like that's one of the benefits. The other thing is that if something goes wrong with one of them,
You got that.
you got other
Sure.
ones that can do the job, right?
So similar to like Starlink, let's put
Yep.
hundreds of these all over and connect into a network. One of them breaks, we just fix that little cog in the wheel. We don't have to fix the whole wheel.
And I think the other thing is that we want to eventually make this more and more economical. It's not going to be free energy. Like we're going to have to build and launch satellites. We're going to have to charge for the energy. But I think the thing is that we need more energy sources, and we need energy sources that are renewable, that work kind of when we want them, not when they're available, right? That's the problem with renewable energy, broadly speaking, is like we as humans want to use energy when we want to use energy. We don't necessarily want to turn our air conditioning on when the sun's out, right? Like we just, if it's hot, we just want air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the place where if you have all of your energy stored in the chemical bonds of a hydrocarbon, like gasoline, then it's just like it's on tap. It's literally on tap when you need it, right?
Oh yeah, just like a hazy IPA. We got it on tap.
Where the windmill is only creating energy when it's windy, and et cetera, et cetera. So
Et cetera, et
so
cetera,
that does
yeah.
make sense. The sun is always
Oh, I
on,
see.
like
Okay.
Waffle
Okay.
House. The sun is always on, and we fight in here.
And there's no shortage of solar power, right? The sun is spewing off so much energy, and if we fast forward the clock to well past when any of us are alive, right? At some point, that is going to be the primary source of energy for our society. Like at some point, humans are going to burn through all the hydrocarbons. There's gonna come some point in time where humans are like, maybe we shouldn't have as much nuclear activity within our atmosphere, and then the sun is kind of like this, like it's not going to run out, right? I mean, it will eventually, but like at that point, there's not going to be humanity on Earth.
This is my
Yeah.
this is my question to you though, because as a person who is I don't care about space or space exploration. I also have a hard time caring about things because I know I'm going to be dead, and I want to. And I know that's a bad nihilistic attitude to have, and I feel like you're the exact opposite of me, and it is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved space since I was a kid, right? Like I kind of come back to that stuff from a few minutes ago, right? Like I grew up with my dad working at NASA and doing this stuff. On the topic of like doing stuff that matters in your lifetime versus after it, like I don't want to be the person that just was successful in business, because those are remembered in history in a certain sort of way.
Sure.
In my mind, always the higher calling has been like the great scientific thinkers, right? Like Einstein's never going out of style. Like shit he figured out, it's not getting old, right?
You're right. That's true. Einstein's kind of a
Ken
timeless
Burns
cat.
isn't going to do a 8-hour documentary about the guy who invented, a great new way to make Triscuits or something. It's Da Vinci. It's Einstein. It's the real
Einstein. It's
Isaac hundreds
Newton.
and hundreds of years. We're all going to be talking about him, not the guy who did a really awesome deal on the S&P 500.
My dad is the one that really got that sort of love of science in my head. So a little bit more about kind of that backstory there, right? So when I was a kid, actually, my dad, he had some health problems. His kidneys failed when I was pretty young as a kid. So this kind of makes the childhood experience a little bit more trying. It was in high school, and when my dad in middle school was actually really sick for kind of a while. Kidney disease, kidney transplant. He ended up getting a kidney transplant. But like that was kind of the point at which like all those years of growing up around my dad and kind of having this scientific backdrop really flipped the switch and started like loving school.
Interesting. So you're saying, but you're saying like him being sick sort of like made you sit up and pay attention a little bit more, or like it made you feel closer to him maybe because you were into the same thing?
It definitely brought me closer to him because we were into the same thing. By the way, my dad is alive and well. Just
okay.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
I had a feeling.
Yeah, he's alive and well. He's old, but he's alive and well.
Still kicking.
I mean, it was one of those things, right? When my dad was really sick, it's like, well, what is the way out? It's education, right? It's like doing well in school. If you do well in school, then you can kind of write your own path. That was kind of the thing for me, right? Is like taking back some degree of control over what my life was going to be. And it just, it kind of makes you, I feel like kind of turned me into an entrepreneur as a pretty young kid, even though at that point I was kind of like starting to run my own life as opposed to running a company.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like it takes a long time for people sometimes to figure out that your life is kind of your own. Like you kind of have to take agency over the shit that you're doing, because otherwise other people do it for you, like it's not hard finding other people to tell you what to do in life.
No, it's not. My wife tries to do it every day.
Having a job
every day. Yeah. I don't know what you mean. I get it at home. I get it at work. No, you're right. I mean, I think that like there is a point though in an adult's life where you're like, oh shit, this is kind of up to me. Like this is sort of like, I can go with the flow to some extent, but like there are certain decisions I'm going to make that are going to affect my entire life. and I'm the only person responsible for that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It never matters more to anyone than it does to you, right?
Yes.
Well, at least we hope not. I don't want it to matter to somebody else. It might be a little creepy.
Yeah, that is kind of creepy.
Talking about Elon, space exploration, he's sort of not having a great Q1, Q2 right now. You, a fellow person who is considered or is at least interested in occupying Mars, quote unquote, whatever that means nowadays, what advice would you give Elon to kind of turn his ship around and get in the better graces of the public right now?
Well, for all the advice that Elon Musk is coming to me for, let me tell you.
The guy won't stop calling. He won't leave me alone.
Yeah,
it's
he
just
like
like
it's voicemail after text message, like just help me think through my decisions in life, Baiju. Well, I mean, this is kind of the thing I thought about when he got into politics, right? Is like, dude, you're working on the higher calling. Like, you don't need to do this stuff, right? Like, the world is not going to remember you for getting into a pissing match with some like elected official.
yeah.
You're trying to go to Mars, dude, and like
You've lost the plot.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
like why? Yeah, eyes on the prize, man. Like why does this other stuff matter? Because in the context of all the people that are alive in the world today, if he ends up being the person that takes humanity to Mars, like that's got to be, that's like the thing to focus on, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that you're running like several other companies, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, going to Mars, it's not a foregone conclusion, right? They have to do a lot of hard work to get there. And I don't know, I feel like that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying, but do you think God? I mean, I think that there's a certain level of wealth and power, and I think that you just want more and more power, and that's what I think. I think you're right. I think even though I don't care about putting humanity on Mars, I agree that's a bigger goal than being sort of an unpopular president's friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like it's a better, you know what I mean? It's a better way to go. I completely agree with you, but I do think there's just sort of, I think people, once you reach a certain level of success, and you seem to have avoided it, but you do get a little bit of a complex about, what you can and can't do, and a God complex, and what you can affect and not affect. And I think it's powerful to be able to avoid that,
Yeah.
and like steer clear and stay focused, like you're saying.
There's also like the things that people really pursue in life, right? Whether it's money,
Mm-hmm.
power, or accomplishment. I think those are like three of the big buckets. And kind of coming back to the Einstein analogy, right? Like, was Einstein a wealthy person? Like, I don't know. I don't give a shit, right?
No one's checking. No one's
He's probably
checking
doing
for Einstein's
fine, but
bank
he
balance.
wasn't flying private.
Did Einstein have like, 10,000 people that reported to him? Like, I don't know. I don't really give a shit, right? But like, here's the thing I do give a shit about is like, he figured out the special theory of relativity.
Mhm.
Sure, that sort of trumps all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's the accomplishments, right? The accomplishments are what people are going to remember. They're not going to remember the other stuff.
So where are you at? Where are you at in your journey then? Have you always been able to focus on the accomplishments, or have you gotten caught up in the other stuff along the way?
Oh, no. I grew up poor, man. I was money motivated
Mhm.
as a younger person.
Sure.
Like,
Sure,
let's just
sure,
be super
sure.
real about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think the scientific mindset, I think, is fundamentally one that's like accomplishment motivated. So I think that's kind of been a big part of it over the years for me. But look, I mean, just kind of very real on this, right? Is like growing up a little bit. I've given you guys like a couple of snippets from that childhood, but like one of the big things that was kind of a takeaway, right, is like as an immigrant kid in this country, you kind of get this like pretty pure view of like what American society is about. And the fundamental thing that makes America so fucking awesome is that this is a place of upward economic mobility. It's the American dream, right? It's like that's the thing that America exports,
It's real. That's real.
right?
Yeah,
It's the optimism, it's the belief that you can like make shit happen in your own life. And realizing that I had that power, right? And like starting companies pretty much straight out of school, that was like one of the connecting thoughts and the idea behind Robinhood, right? Is the
Mhm.
idea that capitalism is this really important thing that we need more and more people in our society to participate in,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay, so we didn't vote for Zohran. Got it.
No, 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 no. That's look, I mean that I don't I've okay. I don't think that's how you create the right outcomes for people, right? I will make no bones about this. I'm not a believer in socialism. I don't think that that makes for a better society, and there's plenty of historical evidence. And I don't think that there's anything different about where we are right now.
All right. Well, going back to what you said, those
Did you guys?
before Sarah tells you to delete this part.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry. What did you?
Are you guys New Yorkers?
I am.
Chris
Yeah,
is.
I am.
I live in LA.
I think that it's a lot of it is a reaction to what's going. You know what I mean? I think everything's a reaction to what's going on, and I think it does. I understand that it like gives people hope in a certain way. And
Same reason why we voted for Trump for a second time. Just this ain't working, so maybe we'll try this bullshit.
Yeah, it's like
that ain't working. Maybe
So
we'll try this bullshit.
I have an alternative.
What do you
which
got?
is not the Elon Musk third party, but I think that there is room for another. I think people need to be really hardcore about being centrists, right? Like the alt center.
Can you give me an example of someone who is on the forefront of that?
I don't know if anybody is, but I feel like there's good branding to be had here, right?
Sure,
to be a hardline centrist.
Yeah, like
right?
I take this seriously.
Yeah, I'm like a party line moderate.
Yeah. I think there's always room for development. I think that people are looking for anything. So if that works,
most of the hardline centrists I know become, they start out left leaning and then they have a kid and make money and buy a house.
And they become Republicans.
Yes.
And then no. I mean it's the ones that are so far left, and then you're like, oh, I like Porsches and a pool and my kids in college. And I don't like that my house keeps getting broken into.
Yeah.
Maybe center is looking okay. Not so far into the deep right, Roland Cole, KKK world, but maybe we don't need to abolish the police system.
No, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea.
As much as we don't like police.
But I hate cops so much, bro. What am I supposed to do? God damn it.
You will die soon.
Dude, don't litter.
Don't
Don't litter.
You mentioned money, power, accomplishment as like the three sort of basic tentpole needs or whatever for these successful people finding things. In terms of the billionaire mindset, you don't seem to participate in the I need to live forever and have 100 children. How have you managed to become a normal, cool, regular billionaire who's not doing
Wait, you don't know that these are not the things that I believe as well.
Okay, well, I know you have one kid, so...
I have three.
You have three?
3 boys, yeah.
Okay, so you're working... Okay, so I take that back. How many dozen head of cattle do you hope to have by the end of your run, and how many hundreds of years will your cerebral cortex be floating in a jar of goo for?
I mean, I think that the Steve Jobs take on this is like pretty on point, which is that like what was the statement that he said is that like death is one of the best inventions of life, something like that. Humanity is intended to have a lifespan, like we're intended to turn over, and as much as I would like to live forever, I'd like not under any assumptions that I'm going to. I will say though, I would like to stay healthy and fit for a long time. And growing up around a dad that had like a pretty major health illness, like I'm very
That'll stick with you.
yeah. I'd like to be healthy for a long time. I'd like to be healthy for a long time because I want to accomplish a lot of stuff, and you can't accomplish a lot of stuff if you're like constantly fighting health battles.
Yeah.
Right.
If you need to run to clear that mind and create things, what's going to happen when you can't run anymore? And I'm glad that you're drinking that full-fat Coca-Cola and not that Diet Coke bullshit that has cancer
No, dude,
in it,
this
right?
is Coke Zero, guys. This is Coke Zero.
We're closer. It's still better. It's still better than diet.
So you prefer Coke Zero to the Diet Coke?
I gotta stay beautiful, guys. It's not optional.
How many of those zeros are we slugging down per day?
I have a big, beautiful cup of coffee in the morning. I'm not a person that drinks lots of coffee during the day. It's like one great coffee. And then I'll usually have like 3 of these a day.
Okay.
Sometimes if I'm busy, it goes up for sure.
Sure. When we're in a crunch mode. Okay, so one big, beautiful pour over.
Are you guys Coke Zero people too?
No, Chris doesn't really drink anything but water, and I will drink a Mexican Coke every once in a while if I'm eating pizza, Chinese food, or if I'm deathly hungover and I just, you just need one.
I have a French friend who claims to not drink water and he drinks wine all the time. And if he gets dehydrated, he just drinks more wine.
That's some French ass shit. That's some French ass shit. And I think that they could be wired to do that, whereas we are not.
Yeah, the French specifically. I know a French friend of mine. He refused to eat vegetables and fruit as a kid, and he went on a hunger strike. And his mom eventually was like, "All right, fine, just no." And he just never ate vegetables. Never will eat vegetables. Just French fries is as veggie as he's going to get.
Sounds like my mom.
Why was I not born with these genetics? I was born with the genetics where I was a vegetarian as a kid and like totally overweight. Like, what the fuck?
Hey man, welcome to my entire middle school and high school
Both
life.
of us grew up as fat vegans, so
yeah, it's all possible.
The few, the proud. We do exist, brother.
Were you guys fat ever in life? I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, I was fat when I was like most of my whatever from like teenage, I guess like adolescent to teenage, like late teenage.
I mean, we weren't like obese, but we were husky, and then once you hit your early 20s, make a little bit of money, go out to eat, drink a lot more, and then that really packs on another.
Yeah, that's the fit to fat to fit that I was talking about.
Yeah. Once you have a little extra walking around money, and you're like, oh, I'll just.
Well, that's the thing people do, right? Is they get lean and then they like pack on a bunch of muscle and fat, and then they try to shed it, right? So like it's like you lean and then you bulk and then you cut, but the real version of it that most of us face in life is that we're lean, then we bulk, and then we just bulk again.
Sure, we're bulking. Bulking's a nice way to put it.
We find new and exciting ways to bulk. Is what I'm usually up to.
Cultivating mass on
a global scale.
Said like a true pro. All right. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like we learned a little bit today, which is rare for this podcast. So thank you for giving us your time.
I try not to have that happen, but I'm glad it did.
It worked out well. And
well, it's not you. It's
we
us.
hope one day to have this podcast be powered by some delicious Aetherflux solar energy. Not cheap, but worth it.
Oh yes.
Presented by. If nothing else, presented by. No, we appreciate it, man. And thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.